Good evening, everybody. Good evening. And this is guaranteed plus 4 marks from the art that is the assisted reproductive technology live in front of you with short tricks to remember, with short key points on the assisted reproductive technology from the chapter Reproductive Health, which is a very easy and a simple chapter. But a lot of you are having a bit confusion and difficulty in learning the art part of the chapter, that is the infertility part. So today we will be having an explanation for those in a very simple way. Along with I will be highlighting the important points from the NCERT from this part as well. Okay, like this, whatever points or whatever things are difficult for you and you wanted me to take for you, please do comment it in the comment section so that I can come with this short videos. Done? So today we will be discussing about the art that is the assisted reproductive technology. Watch till the end. Don't leave in between thinking like this is a premiering session. I am watching your chats. I am watching your comments. So if you have any doubt, you're free to ask me over there. Those who are watching the session right now, don't forget to hit the like button, do share it with your friends and subscribe the amazing platform for more updates on biology. So without wasting our time, let's get started with this super amazing session. Okay, everybody. So let's get started with the super amazing session. Today, our topic is all about infertility. Okay, we will be studying about the infertility. What is actually infertility? It is the inability to conceive or produce a child. It is the inability to conceive or produce a child even after 2 years of unprotected sexual cohabitation. Even after having 2 years of unprotected sexual cohabitation also, if a couple is not able to produce or conceive a child, then such a condition is referred to as what? Infertility. Done? What can be? There can be many reasons. Sometimes it may be a genetical problem. Sometimes it may be a problem associated with some part of your body. Sometimes it may be as a part of some diseases in the body. It can be your immunological or even psychological reasons are there. So the reasons for that can be physical reasons, congenital reasons, diseases, drugs, immunological, or even psychological. You might have heard about certain person who take in this particular drugs or who take up that medicine won't be able to conceive a child because there is a number of steroids over there. There is a number of drugs or properties, that's a number of substances that can make or that can cause fertility, that can cause infertility is there in certain medicines and drugs. If you continuously take them for so much of time, it can also lead to infertility. So those parents or those couples who after 2 years of unprotected sexual cohabitation also, if they are not able to produce a child, then and they have a very high desire to produce one, or they have a very desire to have one, in such cases there are certain infertility clinics now. Along with that, you will be having what? You will undergo assisted reproductive technology, which is referred to as the ART. What is ART? Assisted reproductive technology, which is all about our today's class. Okay, these disorders can be treated by assisted reproductive technology. Done, everybody? Yes. So mainly in this chapter, we have to study the technologies used to correct the infertility problems. Okay, the technologies which are used to correct the infertility problems, you will call them as the assisted reproductive technology, which is the ART. Clear? Okay, so mainly 5 types of ART. In this chapter, you have come across 5 different types. Please write it as like this itself. You have to study 5 different arts under the main heading. First one which you will be studying over here will be the in vitro fertilization or IVF program. In vitro fertilization or the IVF program will be the first one which you will be studying. After that, you will be coming and studying about the Gamete Intra Fallopian transfer, which is the gift. So first one which you will be studying will be the IVF. Second one you will be studying will be the gift, that is Gamete Intra Fallopian transfer. Third one will be the ICSI, that is intracytoplasmic sperm injection. Next one, artificial insemination. And fifth one is the surrogacy. Okay, so 5 headings are there. Okay, 5 headings are there. That is IVF, gift, ICSI, artificial insemination, and surrogacy. These are the 5 important art which you have to study in this chapter. So let's move on with one by one. Let's start one by one. Okay. First, we are going to discuss about the in vitro fertilization or IVF, which is known as the test tube baby program. In this method, listen very, very carefully. In the in vitro fertilization or IVF or test tube baby program, the ova or the female gamete from either the wife or the donor. If the wife is capable of producing a gamete, but they cannot fertilize. If that is a problem of the couple, then the gamete is collected from the wife and sperms are collected from the husband. If both the wife, if either the wife or the husband cannot produce a viable sperm or a viable ovum, then donor male or donor females are used. So they both, okay, so the collection of the egg from the female donor and collection of egg from the male donor, and after that the egg and the sperm are allowed to fertilize, but this fertilization will happen outside the body. Okay, this fertilization happens outside the body, that is external fertilization under stimulated conditions in the laboratory. Okay, and they are induced to form a zygote under a simulated condition in the laboratory. Okay, in the laboratory, they will make up a condition, the temperature, everything exactly as how is it inside the fallopian tube for fertilization, and the fertilization happens to form the embryos. Finally, the embryo have to be transferred. So that process of transfer of embryo is of 2 types, and the process of embryo transfer, you can call them as what? Embryo transfer. So the IVF is actually followed by the embryo transfer. Done, everybody? The IVF or the in vitro fertilization, that is a test tube baby program, is followed by an embryo transfer. Done? Yes. Embryo transfer. So the heading under IVF, you are coming across the SIFT and IUT. Embryo transfer is of 2 methods, that is zygote intra-fallopian transfer or intrauterine transfer. Understood? I hope this might be the confusion of majority of you. What is the difference between IVF and SIFT, IUT, all these things? Guys, in vitro fertilization is the art or the assisted reproductive technology. That is, ovum and sperms are collected from the male and female respectively, and they are induced to form zygote under simulated conditions in the laboratory. And it is followed by, after this method, after the zygote is formed, it has to be transferred into the parent's body. So the type of embryo transfer is of 2 types, that is SIFT is there and IUT is there. So SIFT and IUT. What is SIFT? It is zygote intra-fallopian transfer, and IUT is the intrauterine transfer. Now let's check it out with what is meant by this. What is meant by this embryo transfer? That is zygote intra-fallopian transfer. What do you mean by zygote intra-fallopian transfer? In the zygote intra-fallopian transfer, zygote or early embryos up to 8 blastomeres. If it is the zygote intra-fallopian transfer, that is if it is undergoing, or if the couple is undergoing the SIFT method or SIFT procedure, then the transfer after in vitro fertilization, early embryo or zygote, which is having only up to 8 blastomeres, are transferred into the fallopian tube, Okay, are transferred into the fallopian tube. But in case of intrauterine transfer, suppose if the embryo have become more than 8 blastomeres, then the embryo with more than 8 blastomeres are introduced into the uterus, and that method you will call them as intrauterine transfer. Okay, what is that method known as? Intrauterine transfer. Very, very important. early embryo or zygote up to 8 blastomeres, zygote intra-fallopian transfer. More than 8 blastomeres, intrauterine transfer. So embryos formed by the in vivo fertilization. What do you mean by in vivo fertilization? In vivo fertilization means a fertilization that happens within the female. What is in vitro fertilization? That happens outside the body of the female. In vivo fertilization means a fertilization that happens within the female. Is also used for such a transfer to assist those females who cannot conceive. Clear? Who cannot conceive. The next step is the gamete intra-fallopian transfer. What is the next step? Next step is the gamete intra-fallopian transfer, which is the GIFT. G stands for gamete intra-fallopian transfer. It is a second art. So first art was IVF. Second one is GIFT. Whereas SIFT and IUT, they are coming under this particular IVF itself. What is it? Gamete intra-fallopian transfer. With the help of something, the gametes are introduced. Okay, the ovum collected from the donor. Gamete intra means what happens? The female, either the female or the male is incapable of producing the gamete. As a result, the gamete have to be transferred into the fallopian tube. If the motility of the sperms of the male partner is very less, at that time also gamete intra-fallopian, which we will tell about. Okay. At that time also, but gamete intra-fallopian transfer is happening in case of the females. That is transfer of an ovum from the donor into the fallopian tube of another female who cannot produce an ovum, but can provide suitable environment for fertilization and development. Inside the body of that female, ovary is not working properly. That is, ovary is not functioning properly. Ovary is not producing the ovum or the female gametes. At that particular case, what happened? From a donor, an ovum is collected and it is introduced into a female. For what? For conception. But that female, even though it is incapable, she is incapable of producing the gamete, she can provide suitable environment for fertilization and development. That you will call them as what? Gamete intra-fallopian transfer. That you will call them as what? Gamete intra-fallopian transfer. Done? Is it clear for everybody? Next one is the intracytoplasmic sperm injection. Intracytoplasmic sperm injection. What is intracytoplasmic sperm injection? It means that a laboratory procedure in which a single sperm from a male partner, that is, we know that the male partner produces millions of sperms. How many sperms? Millions of sperms. We have studied it, right? Millions of sperm, out of which one fertilizes, with the ovule. We studied that. But in case of this technique, that is intracytoplasmic sperm injection, what happens is that it is a laboratory procedure in which a single sperm from the male partner is injected directly into the egg from the female partner. Suppose this is the egg. The sperm is directly injected into the ovum. So there is no there is no cause for transfer or something. There is no loss of sperms as it passes by. Directly it is injected into the nucleus, egg or the ovum. The sperm is injected directly with the help of a needle, right? So after fertilization, the embryo is implanted into the woman's uterus. So guys, what are the different types of assisted reproductive technologies that we have studied? First one, IVF, in vitro fertilization. There, the ovum and the sperm are collected from the female and the male partner, or from either a male or a female or a male donor respectively. And they are allowed to fertilize to form a zygote under simulated conditions or stimulated conditions in the laboratory. After that, that IVF technique itself is followed by two different techniques. That is, either the embryo, early embryo or the zygote with 8 blastomeres, zygote or early embryos up to 8 blastomeres, they can be transferred directly into the fallopian tube so that they will move towards the uterus and gets implanted in the uterus. But in case of other, that is, if the embryo has grown and become more than 8 blastomeres, at such a condition, it is directly transferred into the uterus. So that is SIFT and IUT. Second method which we have studied is the gamete intra-fallopian transfer. Here the ovum is collected from a female donor and is directly produced or injected into a female who cannot produce an ovum, but she can provide all the environmental condition for fertilization and development. Third one, we discuss about the ICSI in case of males, that is a single sperm from the male partner is taken and it is directly injected into the egg nucleus of the female. Done, everybody? Yes. So our next topic is the next assisted reproductive technology, that is the artificial insemination. Okay, next is the artificial insemination or the AI technique. That is, the semen collected from the husband or a donor is artificially introduced into the vagina or the uterus of the female. Either they will introduce them into the uterus or they will introduce them into the vagina. Okay. The semen collected from the husband or the donor is artificially introduced into the vagina or the uterus of the female. The artificial insemination into the uterus is known as intrauterine insemination. Okay, intrauterine insemination. Okay, that is the semen collected from the husband is directly introduced into the vagina or the uterus of the female. The technique is useful for the male partner having inability to inseminate the female or having low sperm count. In order to avoid the losing of these sperms due to the pH difference in the male and the female reproductive tracts, what happens? The IUI technique, intrauterine insemination, uterus transfer of sperms or the artificial insemination technique is used. Clear? Done? Yes. Last topic is all about the surrogacy. What is the last topic? Surrogacy. That is, a person is unable to produce the gametes, sometimes there are two conditions. First is unable to produce the gametes. Both male and female cannot produce the gametes, but they cannot also provide the environment also. They cannot become pregnant as well. That's first case. Second case is, what is the second case? Second case is what? Second case, what you can see is she can provide, or he or she can provide the gametes, but they cannot provide the environment. Absolutely, they cannot provide the implantation condition. In such a condition, what happens? They will search for a surrogate mother. What do you mean by a surrogate mother? It is a woman who bears a child for a couple, unable to produce the children, but the wife is infertile or unable to carry. Either the wife is infertile, that is cannot produce the ovum, or unable to carry. In such a condition, what happens? A surrogate mother is used. That is, the fertilization will happen either outside or inside the body of the surrogate mother. And the surrogate mother is impregnated through artificial insemination or implantation of an embryo produced by IVF. Either by artificial insemination of the father or the implantation of an embryo produced by IVF. Surrogacy can be done. Clear, everybody? Clear? These are some of the problems associated with ART. It requires high precision handling by specialized professionals and expensive instrumentation. Therefore, these facilities are available only in very few centers. Emotional, religious, and social problems can arise as a part of this assisted reproductive technology. Give me hearts on the screen, everybody. So let's move on with the NCRT explanation for these. Let's move on with the NCRT explanation for these. Clear? Let's move on with the NCRT explanation for each of this infertility techniques that we have discussed. And before that, those who are looking for parenthood can go for legal adoption of the children as well. So let's move on with the NCRT marking of this chapter as well. That is only the small parts which we have discussed now, that is the infertility. A discussion on reproductive health is incomplete without a mention of infertility. A large number of couples all over the world, including India, are infertile. They are unable to produce children in spite of, unprotected sexual cohabitation. The reasons could be many: physical, congenital diseases, drugs, immunological, or even psychological problems. All these can lead to infertility. So this is the page number 63 of the NCRT. Clear? Yes. Clear, everybody? Next, we are moving on to page number 64. Okay, let's start with page number 64. Okay, in India, often the female is blamed for the couple being childless, but more often than that, the problem lies in the male partner as well. Specialized healthcare unit called infertility clinics, etc., could help in the diagnosis and corrective treatment of some of these disorders and enable these couple to have children. So, where such corrections are not possible, these couple could be assisted to have children through special techniques commonly known as assisted reproductive technology. Okay, it is called assisted reproductive technology. Done? Yes. First one is the IVF. That is in vitro fertilization. Fertilization outside the body in almost similar conditions as that in the body. It is followed by the embryo transfer of the ET. In this method, popularly known as the test tube baby program, ova from the wife or donor female and sperms from the husband or donor male are collected and are induced to form zygote under simulated conditions in the laboratory. The zygote or early embryos up to 8 blastomeres could be transformed into the fallopian tube, and a technique that comes under IVF is known as SIFT, zygote intra fallopian transfer. And embryos with more than 8 blastomeres are transferred into the uterus, and the method is known as IUT or intrauterine transfer. And the embryos formed by in vivo fertilization. So right now you will get the difference between in vitro fertilization and in vivo fertilization. In vivo means fusion of gametes happen within the female. Okay, that can also be done for those female who cannot conceive. Transfer of ovum collected from a donor into the fallopian tube is called gamete intra-fallopian transfer of another female who cannot produce one but can provide suitable conditions for fertilization and implantation. Next method is the intracytoplasmic sperm injection or ICSI. So, gamete intra-fallopian transfer is the second method. Intracytoplasmic sperm injection is the third method. It's a specialized procedure to form an embryo in the laboratory in which a sperm is directly injected into the ovum. Infertility cases either due to inability of the male partner to inseminate or due to very small sperm count. So such a method is called artificial insemination technique, which is your method number 4. Clear? If the sperms, that is sperms or semen, can be either introduced into the vagina or into the uterus. If it is introduced into the uterus, such a technique is called intrauterine insemination, that is IUI. Don't get confused. IUT is intrauterine transfer. IUI is intrauterine insemination. The options are many. All these techniques require extremely high precision handling by the specialized professionals and expensive instrumentation. Therefore, these facilities are presently available only very few centers in the country. Obviously, their benefit is affordable to only a limited number of people. There are certain emotional, religious, and social factors that act as a hindrance in the adoption method. Since the ultimate aim of all the procedures is to have the children in India, we have so many orphaned and destitute children. We would probably not survive till maturity unless taken care of. Our laws permit legal adoption as it is as yet one of the best method for couple who is looking for parenthood. Page number 64. So that marks the end of the super amazing guaranteed plus 4 marks MCQ. Plus 4 marks from assisted reproductive technology or art from the chapter reproductive health. Hope each and every slide is perfectly clear for everybody. We discussed about 5 different methods of art as well. So that marks the end of the session. Don't forget to hit the like button, do share it with your friends and subscribe the amazing platform for more updates on biology. So bye guys. See you in the next class. Bye.